Once again, I'm very happy. It's coming full cycle. We're gonna talk about some stuff. But first, I want to say personally thank you for your Web3 breach video specifically, because that video actually landed me a job. In the last
Which one?
the Web3 video, the breach one, where you teach people how to make two kinds of
Oh.
pizzas. Um, and that landed me a job, a very well-paying job in the last bull run. Also gave me a lot of insight on how bridges work, which is amazing. So you've been contributing a lot. I mean, I was looking back at your channel, so everybody, just so you guys understand, Julien works with EatTheBlocks, where he does educational content, and he also has a course into Solidity and Ethereum. So would be someone really strong to learn from. So I'm quite happy to have him here. Thank you for the job. Okay. And bro, going back at your YouTube channel, you started with Ethereum 6 years ago. It's wild, man.
Yeah.
I mean, and
Yeah.
producing
So
content for that.
I started to be interested in blockchain in 2016. So I was a developer already, and I was checking Hacker News, and in Hacker News there was this like Mister's keyword that was popping up, like Ethereum. And one day I decided to click on it. What is this Mister's Ethereum thing? And then so it looked a little bit complicated, but it looked cool. So then I backtracked a little bit. I did some research about Bitcoin, about the blockchain technology, and then I entered the rabbit hole. And so uh, I studied all of this for a couple of months, and then very quickly I got my first gig. So freelance blockchain developer sometime in 2017, and then I started EatTheBlocks at the same time. Yeah.
Well, that was a massive decision. And producing content for that at that level, at that time. I can only imagine what was the development environment at that point. Are you guys using Ganache? What were the tools back then?
Yeah, yeah. So it was that was just Truffle. That was very primitive. So it wasn't hot. That it wasn't Foundry. And so yeah, the docs were very sparse. So yeah, it was a little bit tough. But even before going into Ethereum, actually, I tried some other blockchain. I tried, for example, one of my first gig was on Monero. So that was a privacy blockchain. I think this is still running, but it's not really popular. But very quickly, I understood that it's happening on Ethereum, not really on other blockchain, because basically the other blockchain at that time, unless you're a blockchain core developer, you can't do much really. There is no application layers. So yeah, I switched to Ethereum, and then from there, everything took off. The channel helped a lot. Just to give some context, so at that time, I had been a software developer for a couple of years on freelance basis, and it was a little bit difficult to take off in my career. I was like in this stage where you're like somewhere between beginner and intermediate, but it was really difficult to get like a better customer or even like a full-time job. And so I thought, okay, you know what? You're gonna go outside of your comfort zone. You're gonna do something you've never done before. So you're gonna do a YouTube channel, and thanks to this, it's going to lend you a customer and lend you a job, and it worked.
You were crazy. That's crazy. And you are I'm doing YouTube too. And one of the challenges I'm facing right now is being consistent. I never really, I mean, we produced over 100 videos. But you've been doing that for years, 6 years, man. How to keep on consistent, how to keep on, putting them out, because not everything has the engagement you want. I had a really hard battle with engagement because I work with auditing, bro. Like, there's nobody in this field. Like, nobody's even looking for that kind of content. You understand?
Yeah. So I love discussing YouTube strategy because I think in general, like audience creation, because I think this is a skill that is gonna become more and more important, including for a technical person. And I think that still very few people, very few developer actually realize this. Even most developers are actually fighting this. You know, they say, "Oh, I don't want to be like an influencer or whatever." But there's like a lot of negative opinion about this, and I mean, there's a lot to talk about. First, but strategy. So I would say you basically can go in two direction. Either you go very niche, and in that case, if you want to make money as fast as possible with this strategy, you're gonna need to land some high value customer. So, which is the case with security. But typically, the people you want is people who would order an audit, hire you for an audit. So not really for education, but like so you're gonna have very few customers, but each of them, the LTV, long-term value of each customer is huge. Okay, so it doesn't really matter that you don't have a lot of subscribers. Like, I'd say just a few hundred subscriber, 1,000. If it lends you a couple of gig already, this is worth it. Okay. And then at the other extreme, you have the strategy where you try to go way more like mass market, like try to get a way bigger audience, but you gotta zoom out a little bit. So if you do something that is a little bit too nerdy, it's gonna be harder because very few people are actually searching for that. So you're gonna have to search for topics that are a little bit that have a mass appeal, or you try to explain some advanced topic, but in a way that is very engaging. So which mean in terms of effort, you're not going to go very most of your effort's going to be more on the form and not of the on the substance. And I know a lot of people don't really want to do that, but if you want to have a huge audience, that's what you have to do. Yeah.
I understand that's the hard work, right? And what about Twitter? We see a lot of marketing, people talking about all kinds of strategies of making on the case of auditors. People are always shilling back. So I made 100K this month, I made X this month, but a lot of it also is not real. So I'm starting to see a division between Twitter, Twitter people from Ethereum, YouTube Twitter from Ethereum, and the only person that I see that is kind in both places is Patrick. So have you tried to be more active on Twitter and stuff like that?
Not really. I suck at Twitter, but I know that at some point I will have to fix this problem. Um, that's for sure. I would say probably that in terms of the average subscriber on Twitter is smarter than on YouTube. That that's harsh, but that's true. So even with a very small number of subscriber on Twitter, like you can already, I think, land some nice customer. On YouTube, you will need maybe a little bit more subscriber. Um, and yeah, so we see people with like a very small audience on Twitter, like 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 subscriber, like a Pat Show, for example, like who are doing so well. And in comparison, on YouTube, you have some guys who have like 100,000 subscriber, but are doing maybe like 10 time worse financially. Okay, so this is important. Not all subscriber are created equal, but I would say if you want to get started on social media, it's better to pick one platform where your customer will be, um, and also where you kind of resonate a little bit. So, for example, YouTube, well, you're going to do video content, and this is another format. So, most people aren't comfortable with that. Most people will be more comfortable with Twitter. So, a little bit easier to get started. But the problem also is that it's more difficult to get noticed on Twitter because the format is so simple that it's all about the content. So that's what you say is it really interesting or not? And if it is not super interesting, then you can really like play with the form. Whereas on YouTube, you can play with the form. So this is what I find interesting.
Talking about playing with the form, I see you edit all your videos. Do you do that yourself or you hire someone to do it?
Yeah, no. So I do this myself, but this isn't right. I shouldn't be doing this. So I I think at a certain scale you need to have a video editor because Otherwise, you're gonna burn out. And this is what happened to me. With EatTheBlocks, I work so hard, like I burn out like really bad. And so, for example, since the beginning of the year, I don't do any pre-recorded video. I just do live stream because this saved me from the editing. I think I'm gonna get back to pre-recorded video at some point, but I will need a better setup with someone that edit the video. And yes, it's gonna cost me more, but maybe it's gonna add like by adding this financial constraint, maybe it's gonna actually increase the quality of the video, because now I know that I have a certain budget for the months and I cannot do more than, let's say, like 4 or 5 video, because every time I need to pay someone, so I need to make sure that each video is really good.
Yeah, that's something that you said in that really touched me, which is getting burned out by editing and putting these videos together. The situation with me is a little bit different. And I really find interesting what you do because most of your content you are creating yourself. Open Sense is all about the talks. Mostly we don't have a lot of audience on Discord. We get most of the audience on YouTube because people are working. They just don't have the time following videos and everything. And one key question that I always ask myself is, what do I want to talk about? How do I pick a subject? What is relevant? What is important? What's going to call attention? We have a strategy for that.
Yeah. So the absolute best is if you have one format that is very specific, very original, that we can find just on your channel and that people like, and you keep doing this format over and over. Example, the news format of Coin Bureau. He has a very specific way of delivering the news. So maybe the information that he give is not so special, but because the format is so special and so consistent, then people like this format and then come back to it. So it's a little bit like, let's take like a McDonald's, for example. Let's say like you're traveling, and you want to experience the local food, etc. But at the same time, you're also not sure.
Yeah.
And let's say at some point in your trip, you're a little bit tired, and you find a McDonald's, and let's say you've been a little bit sick the past few days, and you're like, all right, let's just go to McDonald's, because the experience of McDonald's, it's always the same meal. So with the video, it's similar. So of course you don't want exactly the same video, but if you know the format already, what to expect, that's the absolute most powerful. Now it's hard to find this format that is going to resonate, so you need to experiment with different format and see if there is something that resonate with people, and then you double down on that, and you try to do all the other video like this. Yeah.
Awesome. Great point, bro. Now I want to talk a little bit about the market because I feel that things changed a lot, especially for job seeking on Ethereum from the last bull run. Seems to be like in the last bull run, so I'm talking 20 part of the bull run, we had a lot of jobs, man. We had a lot of jobs. Like VC capital was flowing around. Like to a point, I had 2 jobs, and both jobs paying me more than $10,000 a month, which is a dream salary for someone that was just a Web2 developer before, doing JavaScript, and now I'm able to work all around the world, all these companies, and now there's not jobs anymore. Is the market still heating up, or AI took them?
Well, I think we didn't recover yet from the giant bull market of 2021, that's for sure. Now, I do think there is a long-term trend where blockchain is here to stay. I don't think this is going to collapse, but it's finally a more mature phase, a little bit less explosive. But for anyone who is putting in the effort, this is still a very good strategy, because basically as a software developer, if you want to grow in your career, you need to specialize in a specific tech stack where that is a little bit a niche, and blockchain is a niche, and especially even more smart contract development or auditing. Also, this is a niche. So you gotta see the long term. Like if you keep working in this, what's going to happen? Because for example, if you let's say you keep working on something super generic like a JavaScript or CSS, like what's gonna happen in like 5-10 years? Well, yeah, you're gonna get paid a little bit more, but it's not really going to be spectacular because it's just so much wider. So you gotta see like the long-term strategy is the right one. So I wouldn't stress so much about like the fact there are less jobs. There are still some jobs. And me personally, I have the spirit of an entrepreneur. So I I have a very special way. Yeah, I have a very special way of seeing the market, which is different from most people. So a lot of people they see a big difference between getting a job and being an entrepreneur, but somehow for me there's a continuum. Because really, what is a job if not a sort of a big consulting gig that lasts several years? This is a little bit, if you think about it, because at some point they're either going to fire you or you're going to leave and you're going to have to find someone else. So you can see there's a continuum between this and freelancing. So if you are struggling with a full-time job, then just check out on the freelance market. There's like so much opportunities. The bar is so much lower and it can go up faster. Like for an employer, it's less risky to take you just for a gig, and they will have lower hiring standard also. So because they just want to go quickly, when they hire some freelance person. So the bar is lower. Maybe you make a little bit less money. It's also less it's a little bit more risky, etc. But you get your foot in the door, and then in general, one gig lend to another gig with the same customer, if not another gig with someone else. So that's how I would approach it, instead of this very binary mindset that a lot of beginners have. It's like, oh, job or no job, and like they get really depressed because they don't get any response. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really crazy, really crazy. I felt that myself, but now it's getting better. I'm on a space now that created open sense had allowed me to, just like you say, get a lot of different gigs, connect with different people. And talking about connecting with people, have you ever tried running a conference? Because I'm pretty sure you would, fill a room.
No, I'm an online guy. I'm a little bit afraid of everything offline, physical. I feel like this is like much more work, and yeah, maybe more risk also, because I guess you have to book some places, etc. Maybe one day, just for the sake of the challenge, why not? The way I feel is like, okay, well, I think it's more rewarding personally, that's for sure, because like you meet people in real, you create more real relationships. This in itself, even without any monetary outcome, I think you would already enjoy that, and I think it will allow you to grow also. Because like as developer, we're like shy, we're like in front of our computer, but in this case, you have to deal with people. So yeah, maybe one day, but so you've done it, right? you
Yeah. So
you've
actually,
organized a conference.
your friend here, Lucas, which just say thank you. Because the channel. He built a whole conference like I think in a few 2 weeks or something. And he made it seem easy to do, you understand? And he felt it with people, and it was amazing. And we had beer, we talked about blockchain, everybody had a talk. I mean, you should definitely do something like that in the future if you can. I mean, it's very rewarding, you understand?
So it's good to know. Why not?
Yeah. And talking about risk, I want to see and I want to know how much you are applied in the market. Let me give a little bit of background on that. As soon as I got into blockchain, and so I learned what Ethereum was, I learned what Uniswap was. I made a lot of money with Uniswap by lucky, and I got it. I fell in love, bro. So I start getting more and more risky with my money. So then I was playing with futures, options. And have you ever tried that stuff? Have you ever been through, betting too much?
Oh, no, no, not really. So what happened is very early in my career, so my early 20s, I opened a trading account and I started to trade, and I didn't know what I was doing at all. Like no strategy at all. And I lost some money like this. And thanks to this experience, I got like vaccinated, I think,
Nice.
against taking a lot of risk. So my mental model for making money is first acquire high value skill where you can monetize with a job or with freelance customer. Then from there, build your business, and then when you start to make a lot of money, reinvest, but in like non-risky thing, like a dollar cost averaging on the S&P 500, some boring stuff, and maybe a small allocation for some crypto. But I I think a lot of people who wanna invest in really risky stuff is not for the right reason. Like a lot of people that just want to make quick money,
Yeah.
and it doesn't work like that. Like you can make money with on the financial market with trading. There are all sort of strategy. I have a friend, for example, is a C++ developer, and he has this trading bot where he sits on Bitcoin. He has this model, this probability model where so you know the average the probabilistic return of Bitcoin, and when it's outside of some distribution, he knows that it's very likely that it's going to revert to the mean, and so he has this trading bot. He makes like 30% per year, and great, but the guy is almost like a second job, like spend a lot of time like and then like cleaning the data, doing his model, etc. So I think it's a valid way of making money, but if you are willing to invest the time, and I would just say that I feel like a lot of people who want to do this, they are absolutely not willing to do the effort. So this is what I think for most people, this is probably not what they should be doing, and just like invest in like just the non-risky long-term stuff and focus your effort on your business or your skill. You generate money like this, and then you invest it, and the combination of the two over a certain period of time, like 5-10 years, like you're gonna be a millionaire or multimillionaire, no problem. Yeah.
Bro, that's amazing. That's an amazing vision of, because this is really true. Like, we're trying to make easy money, and whenever that happens, usually you don't keep the money, or you bet it again and lose it, or you do some stupid thing with it. So this is actually a great way of seeing it. Put the effort. A lot of people are not willing to put the effort. I'm completely true, especially when in an area where you get paid so well, such as blockchain. Um, and talking about blockchain, and recently I've been coming back a lot to Bitcoin, bro. I've been looking at Bitcoin again. I've been studying about how to do actions, how to put my wallet the safest possible, how to have a backup plan if something happens to myself, ways that not even me can give you the key. What is your view on Bitcoin, and where do you think it's heading?
Yeah, I think there's a good narrative with Bitcoin being the gold, the digital gold. So just because of that, I'll be willing to keep Bitcoin for a very long time. Uh, yeah, and I don't think we will see anything interesting built on Bitcoin. I think the ecosystem is basically frozen. So as a dev, it doesn't really make sense to invest there. But financially, why not? But I don't think there's much to say about Bitcoin. It's just like yeah, just buy some, maybe do some DCA, and then do nothing. And the same with Ethereum, and be patient. And my crypto, I'm willing to keep it for a long time, like until it makes a life-changing amount. I'm not selling it. Like even if it's just to make like, I don't know, like 50, 100K. Yeah, it's cool. It's just a nice sum, but it's not really life-changing. So I'm patient. Yeah.
For sure. And talking a little bit about things that are happening in Ethereum, something that got me a little bit by surprise on the last bull run was CNB, BSC being born as a Sake. I found that to be super interesting at the time because, all the small shit coins were being played there and everything. And now we have this whole set of, we have any specific, for me, it's really hard to see them um, for what they offer. Often I see as catch grabs from this. And you don't have to agree with that, but you have ecosystems like Optimism basically bribing people to support their project, their grant. And then you have Arbitrum, but you never hear anything of them too. And then you have, all these other dead layer two, like Avax. I don't think Avax was even probably yes. You were selling like that. Now you have Base. Any specific view on those?
I think they are useful in the short term because they just make the Ethereum technology usable. For a lot of projects, it's not really usable to be on Ethereum. It's just too expensive. But that's it. Like you can it's TLDR. That's it. It's just Ethereum but cheaper. But all their like technological innovation, etc. I don't. Well, okay. Like, no, let me rephrase it. Actually, it's a little bit more complex than this because sometimes there are some uh, technological innovation of Ethereum that were inspired by something that happened on those layer two. Okay, so you have to see like the ecosystem view. So I don't think like I do think they contribute to the whole thing, but at the end of the day, the beneficiary is always Ethereum. So that's always the most important. And it's possible that in the future, the tech of Ethereum improves so much that maybe the transaction fee really go down once we have a sharding really implemented. Will these L2 stay? I don't know. But all I know is that they are useful now, but I would just stick to a few of them, like the one that were here a couple of years ago. But a lot of the new one, I don't really see the point. Yeah.
Awesome. Talking a little bit about Solidity and Ethereum, as you just said, where do you go to keep yourself updated, to learn stuff, to prepare videos? And there's any specific place you like to go? You keep on following the IP, keep there on GitHub. There's any process for that?
I just have every week I will check out a few newsletter, a few YouTube channel. Also, I saved the interesting thread on Twitter, like based on the number of view, etc. Um, and so I just make some notes, but I don't necessarily like dig into every new topic. And if I see a topic like popping up again and again, then I would do some research. But I try to be strategic in my education because there's just so much going on. So I have to place some limits because otherwise, for example, of other blockchain, I'm I'm mostly reading the EVM ecosystem. Very recently, I started to look at Solana, but as soon as I start to study something else, another blockchain, right away I can see why they will not be successful. Like, cause it's just so obvious to me. Like the developer experience of many of these other blockchain, like really suck. Like it's so much more complex than Ethereum. Uh, and I think a lot of these people don't understand how important it is because if the developer experience is so much worse, then you're never gonna have a mass of developer that build apps, and it doesn't matter that your chain is like more scalable, more this, more that. It just doesn't matter at all. And yeah, they just don't realize the importance of that. It's you can make a parallel with Linux and Microsoft in the server war. So that's probably something that a lot of the new dev don't know. But even me, it's not really my generation. It's just something I learned. But basically, when the internet was very much more recent in the early 2000s, so there were still a few. There were a few competing technology for servers, and Linux wasn't as dominant. There were a lot of websites on the Microsoft stack, but what happened with Linux is that its API is just like so much more simple. They are less API call and everything is more simple. Whereas a Microsoft ecosystem, you have like so much layers, like so complex, so sophisticated, and so at the end of the day, the lower level Linux, but also more simple one. And I think Ethereum is very much like that. It keeps the protocol like pretty simple, and then you have a lot of stuff on the application layer. But the other blockchain protocol, what they do is like they take a lot of concepts at the application layer and they try to make it at the protocol layer, and they think it's a good idea, but actually no, because very quickly everything's becomes so much more complex. Yeah.
Awesome. I've been talking about that. And it's amazing what we have with Solidity today. I remember back in 2020 when I started learning Solidity. I was amazed by the fact the remix was a IDE online. Like I never saw that before. Like you could just add it on the website and you can run it. And it took me some time to understand and talking to also about complexity of innovation and whatnot. Some things are really hard to audit, and some code seems magical. And we can talk about that when we talk about codes like Uniswap v2, v3, now v4. Um, um, some people do assembly and make things. Where do they find this? Or how are these people creating such beautiful things on it?
I think there's a lot of inspiration slash copying. It's like maybe one day you find some piece of code that is in assembly, but it's not too big, and you kind of understand it. And so now you have like a building block. And then with this building block, now you can do things a little bit harder. But if right away you started to dive into like some super complex piece of assembly, it's not going to work. Doing education like I do helps a lot. So for example, a video I did like 1 year ago was I think it's it was about assembly, and so I had to dig deep into this, and I learned some stuff. For example, I didn't know that in Solidity, when you call a function, actually the EVM doesn't have the concept of function, but there is like a sort of internal dispatch in Solidity. And I learned this by studying YAML, because one of the format of YAML is not like assembly YAML, but the other one, when it's like profile, is you actually see all the detail, including this. So yeah, like just like do one thing at a time, okay? Just like some research here and there, and at some point you have a really really good understanding. But it takes time, and also like challenging yourself, trying to do things more complex. Okay, so you will do some research. I mean, I know it's very, what I say is like nothing special, but it just work.
No, I mean, what you're showing me, what I'm learning from this call is that you have a lot of resilience, a lot of self motivation. So, out of the comfort zone, try to work, try to earn the money you want to make in the future. Work on yourself, do more complex things. There's any specific mindset to follow? Have you ever always been like that, or that maybe inspiration from an older man in your life or something? Where that comes from?
Well, there's a lot of things, but I would say like personally, I'm a pretty independent person. I'm a single kid, so I have brother and sister. So I think that already makes you into a more independent person. And I've also I left my country a long time ago. I've been living abroad for, I don't know, like 13, 14 years. So of course that makes you a little bit more independent. That puts you in the mindset like, hey, like you got to make it, because like nobody is going to save your ass. Like, when you live abroad, if you don't have your family, you don't have your friend back home, you're a foreigner. Nobody care about you. Like, there's no really job for you here, so you got to find a solution. And for me, the solution was online. And online, there are so many opportunities, but you need to work hard. That's for sure. And yeah, many time in my journey, I got really beat down. I face rejection, failure. Even now, the EatTheBlocks not doing as well as he was doing before. But the way I got out of the how do you say, the depressing mindset is to set new challenges. It's like, all right, what's next? So for example, one thing that really interests me right now is indie hacking, because we see this is becoming really really popular with like levels IO, etc. And so I'm trying to see how I can maybe evolve in this direction, but maybe still stay in Web3, or at least from the beginning, maybe do like some indie hacking, but in Web3. So basically build your own app and be an entrepreneur who has some app. This is like a new thing. Like before, I wasn't into this, but yeah, it's important to always keep going and not stay stuck if you are failing. Yeah.
I understand. So basically setting new goals, right? The way of getting out of the burnout mindset, right? This is amazing, very good vision. Bro, anything, I'm about to close the session. I want to thank you so much for coming here today. I have two last questions for you. One is, any plans for the future? There's anything coming for the blogs? I'm gonna leave the links. Any new course or more content, or do you have any plans for yourself for the future now?
Yeah, so I have different things. So I'm working on an app to learn Solidity. So in line, what I was saying was like going more in the indie hacker direction. So yeah, at some point I'm gonna release it. So this is gonna be a way to learn Solidity, but in an interactive manner. So this is one thing I'm doing. I'm thinking of doing also a community for blockchain developer. And the last thing, it's not sure yet, but I'm still thinking about it. I would like also to help developer to create their audience because that was like so groundbreaking for me. Um, but I I'm not sure 100% because I don't want to make people feel too confused about okay what EatTheBlocks is doing all those different things. But I feel like at some point I'm gonna do it because this is something I learned that is so powerful, and I want to share it with others.
Wow, I want some. I'm in, bro. Just let me know when it's out. That I'm definitely in. The last question for you is: do you have a message or anything you want to leave to for those seekers?
Yeah, so work on your tech skill, but also work on your marketing. Okay, like don't let senior developer tell you that yeah just work on your tech skill and all the rest is gonna work. It's absolutely not true.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Julian. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. And yeah, that's it. Thanks, everybody. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye bye.
Right. Bye.